Hey, everybody. Uh, just here to talk about the first chapter of Sacred Pathways. And I wanted to answer the questions up front because I know last time I went way too long. And this way I'll at least have it. I'm going to watch my time and hopefully won't go on and on. So, the first question: have you fallen into the expectation that one size fits all um, in a as a true sacred, true of a sacred pathways. And yes, I have. I think kind of now that I read this and I think about it, that might have been, the reason I kind of hit a wall. I kind of felt like, I had to be just so, because there was right and wrong, right? And God was the way. And if I found what I thought was a godly way and it didn't match it exactly. So, yes, like I said, I just want to hit these and then I'm going to go back and expound a little bit. Have you ever found yourself comparing your spiritual pathways to someone else? Yes, I'm afraid so. Once again, probably not the best thing I've ever done, but um, yes. And then, do you find yourself resonating with certain pathways? And yeah, some were really encouraging and a little shocking, to be honest with you. Um, so I'll elaborate on those as well. But really, the expectations of one size fits all for me explain my experience, and as kind of thought that you just go to church. So then, of course, if I'd missed church for any even good reason, like being sick or having to work or whatever, it just felt like I was being less than, and I just that expectation that I wasn't doing it right. Um, but it was funny because obviously it just gets mundane. I really liked his example of being sick on the plane, and getting his medication and kind of the, you wouldn't treat everything with penicillin, and he gets treated for basically just a general ailment, and it's of course doesn't fit what ails him, and so to me that just really was a great illustration of um, what that means. And then as far as comparing myself to someone else, sure, as I would especially I think get in this idea, and really it was the go to church, read your Bible, and if you're not praying, if those three things aren't consistent in the same way, they couldn't vary too much. Why, I felt like I was, and obviously they would get then burn. I mean, I love tacos, right? And I mean, I love tacos big time. But I think even if I had tacos every day, I would get tired of them. And of course, inevitably, that's what would happen. And same. So then, of course, then my next thing I would find, well, maybe this and a little different, right? I went from being my mom being saved in Calvary Chapels, and then we went Pentecostal, and then we went, in vineyards, and then we were Assemblies of God, and then we went to, I was in a Reformed Baptist church, and a Northern Baptist, Southern Baptist church, and just every time I'd see somebody, or we'd find some godly family, or I'd find a godly individual, and I'd say, hey, I want to walk with God like that, and I would follow them and try to follow them exactly, and just think that my pathway needed to be like theirs, and that was even if I didn't enjoy it, right, that would be my sacrifice. And now in hindsight, looking at it that way, I see how that I must have, I was just determined, but it just I didn't realize that this is really eye opening to me. These different pathways. Now Jesus is still the way, the truth, and the life. By Him, we are saved, but the different ways that we connect with God, I think, is just genius, and just find our closeness to Him. Um, but do I find myself resonating with certain pathways? Yes, some of them stuck out. Naturalist didn't surprise me. Was one of my highest. That and enthusiast. I scored a 23 on both, so those were my two biggies. One I wouldn't have thought, and actually two I wouldn't have thought: traditionalist and caregiver. Um, I, I, I scored higher on, and but they made sense to me, and these are good ways, and to think I live out my faith and grow close to God in these ways really makes sense. So that was just a really cool thing, and I have a feeling I haven't read all of the last two chapters, contemplative and intellectual. I I feel like I'm contemplative. Definitely for me, a big part of just my devotions and drawing close to God each day is having a time of prayer and reading and just meditating and changing that up. For the longest, I just for my first 4 years of walking with the Lord, I read through the Bible each year and just did kind of the 4 chapters a day and would mix it up slightly, but not too much. But then by the fifth year, it took me 2 years to get through the Bible because I started just adding different flavors and different ways in which I just connected or changing the places where I'd have my devotions and how they'd kind of take place. So, and it made sense because sometimes that was outside that would make sense. Um, and then what was the other thing I wanted to point out? Yeah, I think the other last thing was just that it's funny, for me, it's just been so great because, you look at all the different churches, and it seems like as soon as we find a different way to connect with God, instead of just kind of accepting and loving one another in that place, we go and we find another church where we're comfortable, and or we say maybe this isn't the church for you. I've heard said by some pastors, and you know what? I mean, what a beautiful thing that we can just accept people where they're at and how they want to connect. Sorry about that. I got an email just came in, and then just maybe even learn from them, or I mean, in this way, you find that maybe I find out that it's give people permission to be okay with finding God in the different ways in which they're made up. Powerful stuff, good stuff, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this book of the. Well, I was gonna say it's of the four. This is my favorite, I would say. It's the last one. I've just got the last 2 chapters left, but man, I've just really enjoyed this course. Thank you and love you guys so much. Appreciate all the great discussion and just yeah, it's a privilege to be growing alongside you great people. And Dr. B, appreciate and pray for your leadership and where you're taking us through these studies. God bless you.